Hi, everybody. Time for our weekly blog. I'm here with Raven, who's been really great. She started with the community chats and is now as part of membership, and she's supporting all that stuff. And she's the contact. It's great to have her here with me today. Say hi, Raven.
Hi, Kyle. Thanks. Well, I'm glad to be here. It's my first blog, so I'm a little nervous, but I know I'll do great. And so I know that we just came off the members call earlier today, and we talked a lot about what's going on. And you gave a suggestion on how to look at things. And after the call, I spoke to two of my best friends, and of course, that the topic of what's going on today came up. And I shared what you said with them, and it really resonated with them. And I felt like it gave them a different perspective on how to look at things, especially on how to look at how, like, what their place in everything is, which I think a lot of people are struggling with right now.
Yeah, well, I was excited to share that with people because I think it's valuable. And there's two aspects that we came up with in membership today. And when we started out, I just get quiet, and then usually some kind of question comes up to get everybody to get connected. And the first thing that today I just wanted to share a little perspective, and then we checked in. And the perspective was, it is really hard to discern between my experience of what's going on and choosing a majority consciousness view of what's going on. And they're very different things, and neither's right nor wrong. But when we're in majority consciousness view, meaning I'm picking a view that's being presented out there and then adopting it as my own, what that does is it tends to dictate my feelings about it. So if it's to feel guilty, or if it's to feel angry, or whatever, depending on the view I pick about what's going on, then I have to experience the accompanying feelings rather than actually feeling my experience of it. So I just asked everybody to set aside all their beliefs and ideas and concepts, the majority consciousness aspects of it, and then experience what they were feeling. And it was fun because it was hard. It was hard to, and I just think that's a message for all of us, me included, is just, it's easy to attach to some idea or concept about what's going on and then attach to that belief. And that's what creates a lot of the conflict. A lot of the things going on are because people are attaching to a particular view of what's going on. And there's so many different views, and there's so many different truths about what's going on, that just picking one is kind of missing the overall situation. And in fact, none of us can grasp the overall situation. None of us have all the facts. None of us have all the information. None of us have all the understanding. And so what's interesting then is, if I set all that aside, what's my experience? And, there's a whole wide range of different experiences. Some people were experiencing, frustration, that things are the way they are. And some people were experiencing sadness around loss, around how things were and how they are now. And other people were experiencing excitement about, the beginning of a change, or that things are about to be different. And so we each have our own inner experience, but do you see how even when I'm explaining them, that they have a different quality than when I associate with this particular viewpoint is the right one, and this is how I'm supposed to feel within that. They don't have to do with an idea, they have to do with my personal experience of it. So that was one thing, is to understand the difference between attaching to some majority consciousness view, and again, not that any of those are wrong or right, but then to have my own experience of it and to have my own side about it. One of the things that came up it's a common experience, is guilt. And guilt means that I should have done something or should be doing something about it. And I just had this little flash. I said, oh, let's see, there's 7.8 billion people on the planet. So each of us can take our appropriate responsibility for what's going on, which is the number 1 divided by 7.8 billion. And when we calculate it, it goes down to .00000000123 or something like that percent of responsibility. So your responsibility is microscopic. And the way that you exercise your responsibility for it is by getting clear about what's true for you, without any of these majority consciousness, and saying what's true for me in this situation. What is true for how I operate in this situation? What is my experience of the situation? And from that experience is how do I express myself? But it is such a teeny part because our world is small. The perceived world is small. It's just what I experience directly. And then when I watch what's going on TV, it's like I'm responsible for all of this stuff in my world. And you actually have a very small world that you're responsible for. And you get to choose how you show up within that world with your very microscopic percentage of responsibility for it. The other thing is that you don't have any more power than you have. You have exactly the amount of power that you have. And the idea that you should have more power than you have ties into a whole nother understanding around potential and how people get into positions of power. Most of it's just random. Most of it is just circumstantial. And this idea that we need to work hard and effort and all these things is not helpful. So the point is, first, is to recognize the difference between who you really are and the ideas of majority consciousness. All the things that, like if you took on everything that everybody says you should do, you just go nuts. And so you start by feeling how you feel and what's true for you if you had no ideas in your head, no thoughts, beliefs, ideas, or understanding. And then you feel what's true for you. And then you take the microscopic little percentage of responsibility that you have for the whole situation. And within the context of your microscopic responsibility, you act in the world that you are actually in and from your heart rather than your head. And so that's my suggestion or message relative to what's going on.
Thanks for sharing that. Because as you talk about it, I really liked the check-in that you did on the call because I think for me, it's just so easy to get caught up in majority consciousness, especially when you're seeing a lot of things on media, social media, and the news and stuff. And so when I did check in to see, okay, like, what am I feeling aside from like what I think I should be feeling or what everyone else is feeling? And what came up is the same way that I was feeling about the whole coronavirus pandemic. And it's helpful for me to see like, okay, this is clearly how I react when something big is going on. And it just gave me more insight about myself. And so I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, beautiful. Really well put. It's one of the things I really love about Raven. She's so receptive and, she's so, and she has this core of understanding of herself. And then she's so receptive and she doesn't agree with anything she doesn't agree with, but she always goes back and checks with herself and finds, her truth. And it's just, she's a real asset. It's great to have her.
Thank you.
So, I'd invite you all to join us on membership. I invite you all to join the community calls. And there's a way when we just get in there and be heard and seen without these ideas about how we should be or what we should think. That is just so nurturing, especially during this times. And people just constantly leave those calls feeling more grounded and more at peace and more connected with themselves. How do they do that, Raven? How do they feel that?
How do they find that? Well, one thing, there's many things that I love about the members calls. I love the community too, and just being able to come together and not only just learn more about the other people on the call and get permission to be vulnerable when I see other people being vulnerable, but also to have these kinds of discussions about the things that are going on. And something else too that I notice is like when I get the calls are sometimes a great way for me to see what really triggers me. Because sometimes I'll get triggered on a call and I'm like, and it'll keep happening. And I'm like, okay, wow, like this is something that I should look into. Like this is clearly something that's hitting something in me. So I really appreciate that about the calls, and also just gaining different perspective and different insight on a lot of different things through the work that you do with people on the call, just through the guidance that you provide. So yeah, just a lot of connection, a lot of offerings of different perspectives.
So good. So if they want to get on a call, how do they do that?
Oh yeah, sorry. They go to, they can check out our membership opportunities on our website at lifeataltitude.com. And then they'll be able, the first call is free, so they'll be able to join the first call for free and then sign up. And it's not expensive at all. And it's a great way, like I said, to stay connected and meet other people and learn more about inquiry method.
Beautiful. Well, you did great, Raven. You nailed it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Kyle.
Fun to play with you. Good to see you all too. Thank you for listening.